Welcome to another video. In this video, we'll be discussing some strategies that you can use to evaluate academic resources. This is an important skill in information literacy because when you're doing research or writing a paper, you need to be able to tell for yourself if the information that you're getting from your sources is accurate and supports your research. One method of evaluating academic sources is the CRAP test. It's a list of questions that you ask yourself to see if a resource fits your research need. It stands for currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. Let's start with currency. This has to do with how recent or timely the information contained in a source is. As a general rule, you should try to find the most recent information on a given topic when using it in a research paper or project. For example, if you were writing a paper on artificial intelligence, you might want to look at resources that were published more recently as opposed to something written, say, 10 years ago. However, this is not always the case. Sometimes you have to go into the historical literature, perhaps to read about how theories and perceptions of artificial intelligence has changed over time. This is something that you must decide for yourself with each individual project and source to figure out if it fits your information need. The second aspect of the CRAP test is relevance. This means that you should assess how relevant or appropriate a source is for your research project. You should ask yourself if the source helps you in answering your research question, and if it's too complex or too simple to suit your needs. Next is authority. This involves investigating the author of the source to see what their credentials are and how confidently they can speak about the topic. You should see what the author's credentials are, if they're affiliated with a research institution, and if their credentials make them qualified to speak about the topic as an expert. In addition, you should look to see if a source was peer-reviewed. For example, if in researching artificial intelligence you find two sources, where one is a journal article published in the journal Mobile Networks and Applications, and the other is a blog. Let's examine the authority of these two sources. Here is the article Brain Intelligence: Go Beyond Artificial Intelligence that was published in the peer-reviewed journal Mobile Networks and Applications. You can see that this source was published by a reputable peer-reviewed journal, meaning the article was verified by other experts in the field, and is published by a journal in the field that we're talking about. In addition, if you scroll to the bottom of the article, you can see that the author information section shows the affiliations of each of the authors. You can see that the authors are affiliated with major universities. Now let's look at the blog. This is the blog Amateur AI. While the blog does talk about artificial intelligence in their articles that they've posted, looking at the title of the blog, the author labels themselves as an amateur. There is no About Me section of the blog where you can learn more about the author, and none of the blog posts have any information about the author either. Because you cannot check the authority of this author, it's clear that between the two sources, the journal article has much more authority than the blog. The second A in CRAP stands for accuracy. This is pretty self-explanatory. You want to examine the claims made in a source to see how accurate the information is. This can be difficult to ascertain if you don't know too much about the topic yourself, but you can use other aspects of the CRAP test to help you determine how likely the information in a source is to be accurate. Finally, the P in CRAP stands for purpose. This asks you to determine why this source was created and what the goals of the author are. Is this author trying to sell you something? Are they trying to convince you of something? Are they trying to give you their opinion? These are important questions to ask yourself because the answers may change how you view a source. For example, this webpage from a company called Accenture does tell you a lot about what artificial intelligence is, but you have to keep in mind that this company sells artificial intelligence-related services, and it's telling you about the positive aspects of artificial intelligence in order to sell you their product. So this is something, the goals of the author is something that you have to keep in mind when evaluating resources, because it can change how you might interpret or use a source in your research. This source in particular contains something called bias, meaning that the author is benefiting from this information in some way or has some sort of stake in presenting the information in a way that may be skewed to suit their needs. Almost every source and every person has some degree of bias, whether it be linked to the goals of the company who created the source or the personal views of the individual authors. Bias is not inherently bad. but it is important that you are able to identify, interpret, and examine how the bias of the authors of a source may impact the information being presented. That's all for this video. I hope that you're able to use these evaluation skills to find the best resources for you. Thanks for watching.